As you can see, I got fiddling around with the layer effects on the "Come Join Us" text, and I wound up going with something much, much simpler, just a very simple white overlay, and I disabled my stroke, as you can see there. I might come back and fiddle more with this, but more importantly, though, we've got to take a look now at paragraph text. So artistic text, we know we can just single click and begin typing, and that text will run as long as we want it to run, as far as we want it to go. Paragraph text, on the other hand, is going to be contained within a text frame or contained within a box. So let me show you this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hide Photoshop for a moment, all the way back down to my desktop into my Work Files folder. And inside our Work Files folder, we have a file called paragraphText.txt. Go ahead and pop this guy open. And this guy contains just 3 simple lines of text: door prizes, outdoor games, special guests. Go ahead and select that text and copy it, if you would. Control or Command C. I'm going to flip back over to Photoshop, and I'm going to go and create now my paragraph text. So I'm going to tap the T key on my keyboard to flip me over to the Type tool. And down in this area over on the left-hand side, just sort of to the left of the statue, what I'm going to do is click and drag out a box, something like this. Okay? Now we have paragraph text because we have this text frame appearing here. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and paste Control or Command V on my keyboard, and there's my 3 lines of text. What I can do here, as you can see, once again, it's very difficult to see the text. So what I can do here is I can edit my text and I can work with my text just as if we were inside a word processor, like OpenOffice or perhaps Microsoft Word, something like that. So I can click and drag to select the text. I can hit Control or Command A to select all of the text and so on. And then again, I can use the options that we see on the options bar running across the top of the screen. So I could come to the size drop-down menu and go and make some changes if I wanted to, something like this, maybe crank it all the way up. Or again, I could still make use of the free transform if I really wanted to. Now, the frame that we created here for our paragraph text has resize handles all the way around it, just like our free transform. So what I can do is bring my cursor over top of one of these handles and extend the size of the frame. I could make it wider or narrower, or really, again, whatever I want. I could go back and grab my Move tool and then, go and position this text, maybe something like this, again, depending on exactly what it is that I'm after. Of course, over inside the Layers panel, we now have a new text layer as well. And perhaps what I'll do is I'll take the layer effect that I applied to the Come Join Us layer, and I'll go and copy that layer style and paste them onto the new text layer, something like this. There we go, something like that. What else can we do in terms of formatting our text, working with our text, and so on? Well, I want to introduce you to 2 more panels that we have available to us. We saw these guys earlier. I'm going to head up to my Window menu and then all the way down to Paragraph. Now, we have the Paragraph panel and we also have the Character panel. So I can use these guys to help me format my text inside my composition. So for instance, I'm going to hit the T key on my keyboard, and maybe what I'll do is I'll head back into my paragraph text. I'll select this content here. And then inside the Character panel, there's my font drop-down menu, the size. I can get into things like leading and tracking as well, if you know about those settings from your typography, perhaps. The scale options, horizontally and vertically, color, baseline shift, and so on and so on. I'm not going to go through every single option, but there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of settings that you're probably already familiar with. Okay, so I'll leave it up to you to explore through these settings. We also have the Paragraph panel as well, where we can get in and, again, have tighter control, more specific control over our paragraph formatting options. For instance, the alignment. So right now the default is left. I could go center or right, or I could go forced, justified, and so on. We have indent options, a left indent, a right indent, and a first line indent. Now these are getting pretty specific, so I mean we can really get into some advanced typography here inside Photoshop. I'm not sure that I'd want to though. I think maybe I'd want to do this inside InDesign or maybe Illustrator if I had to, something that's a little bit more dedicated to this kind of stuff. But it is possible. We have space above and also space below. as well. So you might want to come in here and start fiddling around with some of the different settings that we have available. For instance, maybe I want to increase the amount of space beneath the lines of text. So I'm just sort of spacing them apart there, right? And again, it's just a matter of fiddling and adjusting until you get what you're after. So for example, this space below, or maybe I come back to the character panel and maybe I want to go and adjust the size just a little bit. Rather than choosing a preset from the drop down, maybe it's going to wind up being something like, oh, who knows, 37.25, right? Sometimes this happens where you just need to wedge the text in somewhere tightly, right? So you wind up using decimal points, or maybe 34.5, something like this. So in other words, you don't have to stick with the options that we have inside the drop down menu.